2 of 2 Thursday night. You can see that the bumper is running. What you can't see is our guest, JD, is waiting in the green room. There's a custom background proclaiming his appearance. We are recording and streaming rock solid. Chat room waiting, switching to Studio 8 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, praise be unto God. Do you realize that we have not had any technical problems tonight? And, I'm Coach Prasick, your host. This is PJNet.TV live. This also is Thursday night, a night that we dedicate to taking a tour around the Cross W Ranch in Cooper, Texas. And his brand is his brand, and JD is our guest every Thursday at about this time, and here he is himself, the caretaker of the Cross W Ranch. JD, before we get started, I'm good to see you not in that sling thing, you know. How's your shoulder?
Yes, sir. Look here, I can lift both arms. Coach Dad, I tell you, I'm doing all right.
It was your left shoulder, wasn't it?
I get out there every morning with that pulley system on my workshop, and I'm working them arms back and forth and things, just trying to keep that thing limbered up and moving. And I'm back to using my resistance bands, trying to strengthen it back up. But I'm just trying to go slow and not do too many stupid things to hurt it again. So we're going to get there.
All right, good enough. Folks, those of you who have not kept up with JD, he blogs at jdwininger.com. His blog comes out each Wednesday. And, JD, I read your blog, and one of the things I noticed, what was it, a week ago, we were discussing the Greek word koinonia.
Yes.
Now JD has confessed that he is probably 4, 6, even more weeks ahead. He's got those blogs in the can, ready to go. He is prepared ahead of the game in case anything should happen. His blogs will come out as long as somebody has his password. he could die and his blogs would still be going out.
Miss Diane knows how to do it. Well, I don't know that she knows how to do it, but she's got the passwords. Okay.
But little did I know that last week when we were deep diving into the meaning of koinonia, that it was actually part of your blog, and you didn't say a word.
No, sir. You just have to let them things go. Those are Jesus things, man. They just happen, you know. And glory to God. We were talking last week about community, and I'm just sitting there biting my tongue because I knew that this week's blog was going to be about community and how we are meant, I believe, to share life together with others. And that's just not our church family, but that's our neighbors, our friends. We're meant, God made us to help one another, and we need that sense of community. But I was thinking about it, and this has been a couple of months ago, but my friend Donnie, he's got Rowdy, the steer with the cleft palate. Yeah, exactly. Well, he come over and helped me with something one day, and of course, before he leaves, hey, let's go look at the cows. So we hop in the ATV and off we go. And we drive around and we talk about all the different cows. And of course, when I go over to Donnie's place to help him with something, he lives a few miles away, right here, almost on the shores of Cooper Lake, and he's got a pretty little spread there. And we go out. Come on, Donnie, let's go look at the cows. See the new calves and who's the bull courting this week and things. So we just love talking about our cows. They're our children to us in a way. And I thought about it, and I've always said, of course, I think it's kind of a quaint little saying, but man, I'm from a small town. I know when folks are married and buried, so we know everything about everybody, or at least it seems like we do. We know when folks get sick and we bring them food and help them, or somebody needs a ride, and things we do for each other. and that's important, and that's very different from the life that I lived before we retired here to Texas. In Chicago, that didn't happen too much. Even in our Del Webb community, we knew the people next door and behind us, and that was about it. We didn't stray too far from home. You walk down the aisles of a store, and people got their head down, and they're minding their own business, and they don't want to get involved in anything or something. And I thought about that, and I thought about how what was that young man that died in police custody, George Floyd, up there in Minneapolis. There were cops struggling with this guy, and I guess the struggle was going on for several minutes and things, but nobody would intervene. Oh, no, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to be a part of that. Shucky darn, if that happened here and we saw one of our deputy sheriffs in a ruckus and fighting with somebody, we're going to draw down on that bucker and probably pistol whip him, to protect our police officer friends. It's, because we go to church with them on Sunday in some cases. So it's just a very different way of living. And, I imagine folks up in New York City and Chicago think we slow talking, country bumpkins. We ain't got a lot on the ball, and well, that's all right. What they don't realize is how much they're missing out, right? Because I think God is all around us in nature, and if you just slow down and you listen and you look, I have a closer walk with God out here on the ranch than I ever did in Mount Prospect, Illinois. It's just such a different lifestyle and things, and it gives you room to breathe and things. But I got thinking about it and talking about that, and I got thinking, look at the little sign near it in my workshop. I have a whiteboard like most farms and ranches, and I've got my to-do list on it, because there's always something that's got to be fixed, or you got to change oil or something. And 7 years ago, when I hung that thing up, first thing I wrote on it in the upper right-hand corner, it was a question to myself. It's in green and says, have you made God proud today? And, well, when I get ready to lock up the workshop at night, I'm in my office, and I turn out the lights in the shop and everything, and the last thing I do is glance at that whiteboard and figure out what I got done and what I've got to start on in the morning because I didn't get done today. And things, but that question always stares at me, and it took me back to a lesson I learned in my teens, sitting at the supper table with Daddy there in Parcho. I had failed at something, and it just frustrated me. I'm trying to do something, so I'm all bummed out and discouraged things. And Pop looked at me and he said, "Well, Jim," he said, "did you do your best?" Yes, sir. I wish I'd have known more, and I'm knocking on myself. And he goes, if you gave it your best, God's going to be proud of you. If you gave it an honest effort, God's going to be proud of you. So if you didn't succeed, think about it, figure out why you didn't, see what you've got to change, and then go change it the next day. You've got tomorrow to make that change. And I've always kept that in the back of my mind. So as I've grown into adulthood and now old manhood, I ask myself at night before I lay down and washing my face, and I take stock of myself. I look at my day and did what I do, and this isn't to say that I'm keeping a scorecard, Coach, because I don't. I got 3 points today, but I lost one because I lost my temper over this. So I ended up a net 2 gain. That's okay. Doesn't work that way. But I take stock of my day and I look at what I did, and I didn't do it to bring glory to myself or fame to myself, but to glorify God. Did people see God in me through the things that I did or said that day? And I also take stock at the things that I didn't do so well. And I ask God's forgiveness for those things. Of course, He's already forgiven me, but we need to confess them. And I do that. And Father, help me to be better. right? Help me to get a little better each and every day. And I thought about that, but and I know this will sound funny to some folks, but I like to picture God sitting up in heaven and Christ is beside him there on the throne, and we do something, I pick up a grocery tab or something for somebody, or just do something in secret. That's the best way to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I do something, and I could just see him reaching over there and elbowing one of the angels and say, "Hey, Gabriel, did you see what my kid just did?" He's just a proud parent, and just makes you feel good, right? Think about the times when you've coached football and young people, applied what you have taught them, and it worked, and I mean, just worked to perfection. You go, yes, that's the way you're supposed to tackle, and head up and drive through the tackle and lock your arms and all those wonderful things. And they do it textbook. Doesn't that just make you feel just proud as punch? And I sure hope that God feels that way sometimes too. But I think about that, and again, it's not a matter of keeping a balance sheet and, hey, I've got more pluses than minuses, so I get into heaven, because it doesn't work that way, right? There's only one path, and it's a very narrow path. But through Christ, we'll get there. But when we get there, we have to face, and last week we talked about the Bema seat, or the judgment seat of Christ a little bit, Coach. And do you remember, I can't remember the name of the narrator on this show. I almost want to say it's Alan Font, but I'm not sure that that's right. But this is your life, right? And it was just a kind of a movie perspective or a summary of your life. So I kind of like to think that the judgment seat of Christ is going to be like this. Now, it'll be in fast motion, but it'll be this Microsoft project slideshow, and we'll go across and we'll see all the things that we did. And it's like God is keeping a scrapbook for us, for our accomplishments that impacted the kingdom. And we'll see all these things happen, and we'll feel pretty full of ourselves. But at the end of that slideshow, there's all the things that we failed to do that we could have done, or we chose the wrong path and things. And those are the things that are built on wood and straw, right? That they're not built upon that firm foundation of stone that is Christ and his teachings. So those things are going to be burned up, right? They're going to be lost. So what rewards will we have left to lay at our Savior's feet? So I kind of wonder about that. But that was kind of what my blog was about this week, is how well do we steward all the blessings that God gives us in our lives. And out here in the country, we talk a lot about our cows and our horses and our animals and the chickens and how many eggs we get and everything else. But it isn't bragging, it's just sharing the blessings that we've got, Today, my friend Donnie come over because he's got an infestation of army worms. So he came over and got some insecticide from me. He sprayed for them rascals because they're going to eat our Bermuda grass. Problem is we just got, in the last 2 weeks, we got maybe 2.5, 3 inches of rain, and everything that was dried and crumbly. I mean, the ground will crunch when you step on it. You know what that is in Florida. And it's greening up and it's getting lush, and the animals are loving it, because now I've got more forage for them to eat. I don't have to switch to hay already. And we're bragging about that. Of course, we got to fight the enemy, them army worms. They're trying to invade. But we just love to share the blessings with one another, and that's where the koinonia comes in. It's more than just family. It's sharing life with one another, and we don't do enough of that here in this old world, do we, Coach? We keep secrets to ourselves, and we keep our problems to ourselves, but that's not what God's word tells us to do, right? It tells us to confess your troubles one to another, and as brothers and sisters in Christ, we're all part of that adopted family. We're all supposed to be there to help one another, much like we do in small communities. And our friend Ben Cooper talked about that. He lives in a borough, which is smaller than even a town. Our little town has less than 2,000 people, and we're the county seat, right? So we're the big city in Delta County, but it's just a tiny little community, and it's close knit. We're always here to help one another, and when bad things happen, we just pitch in and we do what's needed. But you don't see that too much in this old world anymore. So I just wanted to share how important it is that we work and share life together, and that what we do we make God proud each day, in what we say and do. At the end of the day, can we put our head down and rest, truly rest, knowing that God was glorified through us that day.
JD, there are so many sermons that I could preach from the topics that you've touched on, and don't worry, folks, I won't. But let's touch on a few. We should take pride in our work, and you referenced the notion. Did you do your best? Well, we should do our best, but folks, that can get complicated, because when you say do your best, that generates a tone of self-reliance and self-pride. I look back on my life, and I can remember bragging on some things I've done that to the audience that I was bragging to, they were impressed. I'll give you the short version. We wanted to purchase a piece of property. We knew that it was the owner was in financial distress. We made him an offer. He insulted us, so we went to the bank and purchased the mortgage on the property, and called him back and said, "You're behind on your payments." And he said, "That's none of your business." We said, "Yes, it is now, because you owe us." We foreclosed on him, Jim, and obtained that property for the balance of the mortgage after we had offered him much more than that. Okay, so I was bragging how we manhandled that one, and
Oh, that was a shrewd business deal, right?
That was a shrewd, exactly, JD.
How many times did you have to shower that night, Coach?
Yeah, and I look back on that, and I'm so ashamed. I would never do that today, and I am ashamed of that today. So when you say do your best, what are the things that we are proud of? Would God also be proud of them? I think in the pagan world, there's a lot of difference.
Yes, sir.
But as Christians, maybe we should reflect on, if you're proud of something, stop a moment and say, that's not the question. Is God proud of that? So your blog really touched on that. Let me ask you about your whiteboard to-do list. Interesting coincidence. I've been putting some finishing touches. I've kind of had to step back from the intensity of self-reliance, and JD, you know what I'm talking about here. But yeah. I've literally had to step back, and one of the things I did is installed a whiteboard on right there by the door, and I put on it the things that I need to do. And it is so satisfying. So I write the things I have to do in black, but I've got, blue, I've got many colors. It's so satisfying to just, I don't erase it. I don't
Check
erase
one
it.
Off, yeah.
Right, I don't erase it yet. Done. And I'm looking at it now, and I'm just thinking, well, there's a lot to do, but by not erasing it and marking through it, that psychologically satisfies me somehow. What about you? Do you erase them, Jim?
Well, I do after a check mark, because I whiteboard's only so big. I got to add more chores to it. So,
okay.
Yeah, I erase them the next week. Normally Sunday afternoons, I sit out there and I make my to-do list. Yeah.
Okay. The Bible implores us, or commands us, to work as unto the Lord and not as unto human masters. And boy, I tell you what, if there's anything that is a call to excellence, That's got to be it. And this too, again, you've got to use some discernment here because you can get self-reliant. But I remember I was at a track meet one time. My daughter was participating, and there was a Christian school that was in the track meet. And JD, they just weren't. They were participating. They really weren't trying to win. And my blood was boiling. You know, you should do your very best, and you're representing Christ, and you're out there half, you know what, running around, you know. And I was disgusted, and sometimes I wonder, do we go through life saying good enough, you know, I mean, or do we give that extra measure? Do we reach down deep? And you say, well, I can't. Well, yes, we can. We can always do better. I have a question for you. Another topic. I was thinking about this earlier. Every day, JD, you get in that UTV, it's a Kawasaki Mule, and you do your chores. You've got your routine. You know, you ride around. You do this same thing every day, every week, every month, every year, and yet it amazes me when I read your blogs that in the routine of doing that over and over and over, you would think it's the same every time. But your blogs tell me that you always find God shows you something new.
Yeah. Why would I expect it to be mundane? Because it's a mundane chore. The world is ever changing, Coach. You know that as well as I do. And, you know, we as people aren't ever changing. If we're not, we're just stagnating, right? And nobody likes a stagnant pool. So if you can reach a point in your spiritual walk that you can stay attuned to God, and it's not something that I've learned to do. It's just something that I feel God has blessed me with. Being out in the natural world, you know, and I kind of alluded to this up front in my blog, is out here I don't have sirens and car horns and car alarms and busy traffic noise and things and trains and airplanes flying over and all those other distractions that are trappings of this world. It's just peaceful and quiet. You know, I listen to the bullfrogs and the crickets and things. And, you know, I hear the ants ordering one another around in the middle of the night. It's just a wonderful, peaceful place. And that makes it so much easier to listen for God's voice, you know, because God doesn't shout. He doesn't scream at me to do things. Now, he sometimes gives me a sense of urgency. You know, he'll light a fire under my behind to do something, or say something or whatever. But he speaks in that still small voice, and you have to learn to listen for that and to feel it. It's almost an instinctual thing, Coach. But every day is new out here. You know, I put in a new squeeze chute yesterday and working with that, and there's lessons that I picked up from that. And you go, what's to pick up about putting a piece of cattle handling equipment together and installing it, you know, and oh well, boy, you know, it's a good thing I put the safety chain on the front of that tractor so that sucker didn't tip over on my helper, because it only weighs about 2,000 pounds. You know, I'd have killed that young man. But you know, there's always things to watch for and listen for if you just remember to do that. You know, our buddy Ben is much the same way, right? He can go out there and tend his bees and learn something new, something that he can apply to his spiritual life every day. And it's the same bees and the same beehives, just like it's the same cows and the same pasture for me. It works the same way, and it's just a matter of learning to become attuned to your environment, Coach. If I went back to a big city today, and I consult sometimes in the defense industry, so I end up in D.C. or places like that, and I have to really struggle to hear God and to find God in that environment, because you're getting so inundated with all these other sensory inputs to you. And it seems like, Satan uses those white noise, as white noise to sneak into you, right? Because you don't sense his attack until he's already embedded in you sometimes. So I always can't wait until I can get back home and have some peace and quiet. So one of the first things I do the next morning when I get home is me and Bubba will go sit up on the hill and watch the sunrise.
Yep. Same sunrise every day that looks different. God paints a different portrait.
Absolutely different.
Every day. Great artist. It occurred to me, JD, that the wisdom and truth of what you're saying and getting out and communing with God in a remote and natural environment is conducive to walking with God more closely. But it occurred to me that it's possible that someone is watching this show in the midst of that down hub and bub, fire alarms and you name it, airplanes.
Yeah.
And they're thinking one of two things. These two guys watched one too many episodes of Green Acres. Or, that's good for them, but what about me? What could we say to that person in that urban environment to find that peace?
I've been in that environment. I put myself in that environment again, now and again, myself. And what I would say to them, Coach, is the peace that you need is found inside you. God's peace is not dependent on the environment. Now, the environment that I'm in is conducive for me because it brings me peace. It settles my spirit. I'm calmer when I'm here than I am when I'm on high alert walking down, Wabash Street in Chicago, for example. Because there I'm going, God, I wish I had my sidearm. I don't like being out here in the big city and being indefensible. So I'm always on high alert. My head's always on a swivel, and it's hard to find that inner peace when you're in that. But I've had situations where I've been in very intense meetings or negotiations with the government on $1 billion contract and things, and there's not a whole lot of peaceful, gentle breezes under the pine trees in situations like that, Coach. But that's when I have to draw from that well inside me, because there's a God-shaped hole in our hearts, right, Coach? And the only thing that fills that is the peace and love of God. So establish that inside you. Find ways that you can tap into that and draw on that. For me, I like to liken it to an inkwell. Being a writer, I guess, Coach. It's when it starts to get low, I need to go refill it. And the same thing happens with my joy and my peace. When it starts to get low, I need to get it refilled. And when I've got it refilled, I'm ready to go out and face the world. It's hard to understand, I guess, for some, but we aren't of this world anymore. When you become a Christian, in time, you become less of the world and more of heaven, because that's what you seek. You're seeking home. You want to go home. You're just a visitor here. For the first umpteen years of my life, this was home. This was my happy hunting ground, right? But as I've gotten older, as I've grown in Christ, there's not a thing in this world I'm going to miss. Now that my wife is saved, there's not a thing in this world that I'm going to miss when I leave this world, Coach, because I'm going home. And that's what's tickled me in a way about this COVID-19 and this coronavirus and all of this. is, people are so fearful and so afraid and everything. I'm going, what are you afraid of? What are you going to lose here?
Hmm.
If you know Christ, if Christ lives in you, you've got everything to gain. You're not going to lose anything. And, you're going to lose jealousy and anger and pride and things. And it's not, that's a bonus to me, Coach. That's icing on the cake, isn't it?
Folks, we're not going to sing, I promise, either of us. But as you were sharing, my mind drifted to, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace. And I think that
Amen.
summarizes whether you're on a ranch or you're in Chicago on Wabash. The things
Yes,
of
sir.
this earth can grow strangely dim in the
That's
light
right.
of his glory
That's right.
and grace. And that's as close to anything uh, referencing music that you will find on
Yes, sir.
pjnet.tv. JD, you've blessed our hearts, and you have shared the peace, and thank you, and we appreciate
Two quick things before I leave, Coach. Other than, of course, thanking everybody for watching, especially my friends and family in the chat room. I want to send a shout out, if I can, to a dear writing friend. She's been a mentor and the greatest encourager I've ever met, Miss Jerry Wakeland in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Miss Jerry is, maybe 37 years old now, but she had a TIA last week, or a transient ischemic attack, kind of a mini stroke, and they found a heart problem in the hospital. So she had heart surgery this week. I'm told that she's home now and she's recovering, and her daughter came in from Utah to be with her and help her, Miss Emily. But please mention Miss Jerry Wakeland in your prayers tonight, folks. She's an awful, special, wonderful Christian woman, and I know she would covet your prayers. And I'll leave you with one thought: do something to make God proud tomorrow, will you? Thanks, everyone. God bless.
it. All right, JD Wininger right here on pjnet.tv. And that's going to wrap it up for us tonight. And I really appreciate everybody sharing their time and joining us tonight. Let me give a little bit of a promo for tomorrow night. Friday night is special. Here on pjnet.tv. I get the night off. That's what's special for me, and I need that, to be honest. But Steve Hazards 4 takes the controls of the console, and starting at 9 p.m. Eastern, he takes us down memory lane. He'll have he'll have a little jazz. He likes that, But we do a lot of retro songs, the songs we grew up with, and it's just a chance to kind of let our hair down and just relax and just enjoy each other's fellowship and enjoy the memories of growing up and the songs we grew up with. But then come 10 p.m. or so, he uncorks my perspective and comment. Folks, this has become quite a centerpiece on the pjnet.tv platform, and he will summarize and give his take, his perspective and comment on the news of the day, kind of summarizing the week's events, and then, as JD so well says, he brings it home. He'll bring some scripture into the picture to cast some light on a pretty dark world that we live in, folks. You all are so special to me, and I enjoy the time that we spend together. It's enjoyable. It's meaningful. Well, another week at pjnet.tv for me. I'm going to start working on, I got a whiteboard over there with a lot of stuff on it. If you're up late tonight and you're on Facebook and you see that little green dot next to my name, you're welcome to give me a little jingle and a little shake. It gets kind of lonely up here, and I'd be glad to spend some time. If you have any need prayer or whatever, just hit me up. I'll tell you what's going on. Before I leave, anytime I get the chance to address the public, I end the same way. And many of you already know this. who are regular here, you know what I'm about to say. But just as JD takes that same trip in doing his daily chores around the Cross W Ranch, I hope that the meaning of what I'm about to say is fresh and new each time I say it and each time you hear it. 2 questions. First, what is the boldest thing that you have ever done for Jesus Christ? And second, how long ago was that? It is my prayer, it is my challenge to myself and to you, that none of us would ever be satisfied with either answer.